Alright, today I am going to teach you how to play Amun-Re. This is a auction and area control game for 3 to 5 players, designed by Reiner Knizia. Very good game and just a lot of fun. So I'm going to show you how to play. I have it set up currently for 3 players, and basically every player is going to get 3 bidding markers, a score point tracker, and one of these Architect's Favor cards, this stealing card, and money equal to 20 bucks. All of these cards all have the same back, so when they're held in your hand they are kept secret, so nobody really knows what you have. And let's see here, put that there. And to start the game off, what we do is, after giving everybody their starting supply, we have to seed the locations deck. So if we're playing with a full complement of 5 players, we just use the whole deck. If we were playing with anything less, we multiply the number of players by 3, and then that's how many cards we input into the game. So if we're playing a 3-player game, we're only going to be using 9 provinces instead of all 15. So, we have the board set up, we have some farmers, this temple, and these bricks and whatnot. So at the start of the game, what we're going to do, the game takes place over 2 ages, and each age consists of 3 rounds, and each round there is things that happen, but at the end of the 3rd round of each age, there's going to be a scoring phase. So there's going to be 2 scoring phases out of 6 rounds, one at the end of round 3, one at the end of round 6. So I'll explain how the game goes first. So to start, we have an auction phase. So what will happen is we're going to draw cards from the location deck equal to the number of players, and we're going to put them out on the board. So now I just placed some right here just as an example in these 3 spots. Whoever the start player is, at the beginning of the game, the start player is determined randomly, but later on the start player will be determined by offerings that we make to the pharaoh. So at the beginning of the game, though, the first player is just going to take their marker, and they can put it on any one of the bidding spaces on any one of the open locations currently. All the bidding spaces start at 0, go up to 36, and they sort of go up in increments. They're kind of strange. You have 0, 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, 21. So you can place this bidding marker anywhere on this track. The tricky part is, like, let's say if I place it on the 0. So if I win, I don't pay anything, and then my person takes control of this area. But if somebody, the next player, decides to bid above me, and let's say bids 1, or let's just say they bid 3, doesn't really matter, they can bid any number they want. Let's say they bid 3, and then immediately before the next player takes a turn, the person who got outbid is going to have to take their marker, and they have to place it on one of the other spaces that are still open. They cannot go back onto the same spot into the same province that they were. So that's why if you really want a province, you might want to bid a little bit higher to ensure that you get it. But if you don't really care, okay, so let's just say I start over here, and then it's the next player's turn, and again, let's just say the next player decides to outbid white again. So now white gets off there. White could come back to this spot now because that wasn't the last place that they got bumped off, so they could come back here and go on to the 6. But you know what, they're just going to go here and pay 0 and take that. So that's the auction phase. So once everybody has successfully won that, then we'll just clear those cards, and then those people, those players, take control of this area, and they have control of this, and they're going to score points for this until the end of the 3rd round, which is the first age. After the 3rd round is over, all of the people's control markers are going to get wiped off the board, and all of the farmers that are on the board are also going to get wiped off, but I'll explain that in just a second. So anyway, so once we have finished the auctioning phase, then we see if anybody gets any immediate bonuses. Immediate bonuses are those listed in this kind of dark brown area. So the blue player is going to get 1 card from this little special action card deck, and then they are also going to get 12 bucks immediately. This is one time. This is only as soon as they get this. These are just immediate. Sorry about that, got interrupted. So this is a one-time bonus. It's only as soon as they win this province, so they get the 12 bucks and the card, and then That's all. There's no other immediate bonuses for the other spots right now, so that's all that happens there. So the next phase, and each round has 4 phases. So the first phase is auctioning, the second phase is purchasing and construction. So purchasing is in turn order, again starting with the start player, which is the white player. They can choose to buy as many of these goods in a row. They're sort of limited by what they have available to them. So in order, you can purchase as many of these favor cards, as many farmers, and as many stones. So favor cards, you're limited by however many favor cards you have available in the provinces you control. So this is a 1, so that means I can purchase a total of 1 favor card. If, for instance, I was also in here, even though this has 2 and this has 1, I only go by whatever the highest number of favor cards that I can purchase. So I still could only purchase 2 if I had both of those provinces. So I can purchase 1 favor card. Favor card is going to cost me $1. Now, farmers. The farmers are limited. I can only purchase as many farmers as I have spaces available on the board. So again, right now I only have 2 spaces available, but if I had controlled this space and this space, that's 5, 6, 7, so I could purchase up to 7 farmers. Now, each one of these things cost the same amount. So 1 card cost me $1, 2 of anything, again, 2 farmers, 2 cards, whatever it is, would cost me $3, and then stones cost in this range as well. So 1 for 1, 2 for 3, 3 for 6. And each of these are separate. So if I wanted to buy 1 card, that's $1, 1 farmer, that's $1, and if I wanted to buy 3 stones, that's $6. So 6 plus 1 plus 1 equals $8. I don't add 1 plus 1 plus 3 makes 5, and then I pay 5 times 15. That's not how that works. So 1 card, let's say I paid 2 farmers, and then I buy as many stones as I want. This board only goes up to 7. You can buy more than 7. There is a calculation in the rule book, but we won't need to get into that. So you can buy as many stones as you want, though. Now, when you buy stones, you purchase them, and 1 stone, 2 stones. If you ever were to purchase a 3rd stone into an area, you remove them and you place a pyramid down. Again, the same thing, 1 stone, 2 stones. If you buy a 3rd stone and there's already a pyramid there, then you get a double pyramid, which is even bigger and cooler. And you can purchase stones for any region that you want. If you're in both of these, you could purchase, 3 stones, put 1, 2, and then I put a 3rd one there. Doesn't matter, whatever you like. Normally it takes 3 stones to build a pyramid. If you wanted to use one of your architect's favor cards, you could turn it in and then change 2 stones into a pyramid. These cards, this one you start with this one in your hand. They all are color-coded to match the different phases that you can play them in. And you can never, ever play a duplicate card in the same phase. So I can't play 2 of these in a phase, even if I had 2 of them. And you start with 1, but there are more in the deck, so there's a possibility to get more. So that's purchasing and construction. And it should be important to note that pyramids are basically one of the most primary ways that you're going to score victory points. And again, you score victory points at the end of the 3rd round and at the end of the 6th round. The other way you score victory points is, so the way you can score victory points is if you have any temples. Temples are going to score victory points, and they're variable. It's anywhere between 1 and 4 points, depending on what the offerings to Amun-Re are. And I'll get to that in just a second. So this person has control of an area with temples. There's not too many areas out there. There's another one, and there's another one. So pyramids score you victory points. They score 1 point per pyramid. And if you had a double pyramid, obviously that's worth 2 points. And as many pyramids as you have, they're always going to be worth 1 point apiece. So that's purchasing and then construction. After that, we're going to make offerings to Amun-Re. So these offerings, these are offering tiles basically. So everybody at the same time is going to select some money cards, secretly hide them in their hand, and then reveal them all at once. We tally up all of the money that was offered, and then depending on what the number is, that's what the offering is for that round. So you see here, this is 2 or less, 3 to $12, 13 to 22, or 23 and more. If you make an offering to Amun-Re, if you're the first place, if you have bid the most money for the offering, you get the start player marker. So it means you get to go first the next round. And then you also get 3 free goods. So it could be 3 cards, 3 farmers, 3 stones, or any combination of those. Second place gets 2 free goods. Third place gets 1 free good. If you bid, even if you bid $1, you still get a free good, basically. If you bid this is a theft card. So this is saying that you're not offering money, you're stealing money. So if you play this, first things first, normally when you offer money, the money goes out of your hands, obviously, and goes out of the game. But if you play a theft card goes back into your hand, and then you also take $3 into your hand, so you're stealing from the supply. But the negative is that you don't get any of the freebies that that would normally come from being first, second, or third. So the offerings, once we decide how much has been offered, then this is what determines how you can get extra money. So this says that you get $2 for each farmer that is out in your field. So let's say I had 2 farmers here. This person, their starting area already has 2 farmers built in, and they purchase another one. This person has no farmers here. So $2 times 2 farmers, that's $4 to the white player. 3, that's $6 to the green player, and then nothing to the blue player. The 2 lowest values also show camels on them. In some provinces, there are you will earn this much money in addition to whatever the farmers are if there was a camel in the province. So if you made the bid was low enough, you would get $7 plus however much money per farmer. In some areas, these are called gold mines. You just automatically get this much money, $8 or $4. Doesn't matter what comes up because you have no farmers in the area. I'm sorry, you would also get $4 plus however much farmers are here, but you automatically get that money regardless of what happened. Those are gold mines. So these 2 have the camels on them. So if the amount was higher, in the 13 to 22 or 23 area, these camels don't pay out. So that should make sense. This is also where, like I said, at the end of the 3rd round, when we score victory points, depending on whatever the dollar amount was per farmer, that's also how many victory points you're going to score per temple. So if at the end of the 3rd round we all spent 23 or more, then that's going to be worth 4 victory points per temple. More than likely, it's probably going to be somewhere around 1, and then you'll earn 1 victory point per temple. Victory points are kept track of on this track over there. So the other way that you can score points is, so I mentioned, let's just make sure I go over everything. So the first round was the auctioning phase. The second round was the purchasing and construction. The 3rd round is the offerings to Amun-Re. The 4th round is the harvest phase, which is where we get money for everything. And then at the end of the round, basically what we do is we just deal out 3 more new cards. We start the round all over again. We do those same 4 phases over again. After the 1st, 2nd, 3rd round, at the end of the 3rd round, then we're going to score victory points. So as I mentioned earlier, you get victory points for each pyramid that you have in any province that you control. And then you get victory points for every temple that you have, depending on what the harvest shows. And then you also are going to get 3 victory points for at each province in which you have the fewest pyramids in. So for example, if I have a pyramid, if I have 1, 2, and 3 pyramids, so the fewest is 1, so 1 times 3 I get 3 victory points. But if I had 1, 1, and 0, this is the fewest province that I have pyramids in, so that's 0 times 3 I get 0 points. Similarly, if I had 3 in a thing, it still doesn't matter. This is the lowest. This is how much I have times 3. That's 0 victory points, basically, for that. Also, whoever has the most pyramids on either side of the Nile. So if I really went heavy on this one side and nobody else beat me, then I score 5 victory points in addition to any of the other victory points that I had. If 2 people were tied onto a side of a Nile, so this is 1, this is 1, heck, even if this person had 1, if they're all tied, they each score 5 victory points. But first tiebreaker usually goes to stones. So if somebody has a pyramid and a stone, and everybody else just has a pyramid, then this person would get the first place, which would be 5 victory points, and everybody else doesn't get anything. So that's 5 victory points for that. The last thing you can score victory points is for these yellow cards here. Now I haven't really talked anything about the favor deck, which is this deck right here where you can buy cards. But generally speaking, you're either going to get some special action that you can do, or one of these victory point scoring cards. There are multiples of these cards in the deck, but remember you can only play one card per type in a phase. So even if you had 2 of these, you can't score them both. So basically what these are saying, this one scores points if you have all of your pyramids on either this half of the board or this half of the board, as denoted by the symbols. So if you have all of your pyramids on either of those sides of the board, you're going to score an additional 3 victory points. This says that if you have at least 7 favor cards in the provinces that you control, then you're good. Then you can score 3 victory points for that card. This is the same thing if you have at least 9 farmers that are out on the board, then you would score 3 victory points total for that. This one says that you score 3 victory points if all your provinces are on the same side of the Nile. So if you were all on this side or all on this side, you score 3 victory points for that. And then this one says score 3 victory points if you have all of your provinces either touching the Nile or not touching the Nile. So this gives you some place to kind of aim for. You know, when provinces come out, you might think, okay, I really want to get on one of these bonuses. You can score multiple bonuses, but you just can't score the same bonus. So that happens at the end of the 3rd round and at the end of the 6th round. These are special bonus cards, and we can go over them, but basically they're color-coded again to match what phase they can be played in. And again, you can only play 1 card per phase. The rulebook has all the explanations in there, so usually what I would just say is when you come up to them, look at the rulebook, and then you can discuss if you have any questions. This is just $2 extra basically. The last thing I want to mention is that you do have any of these cards that you get, if you ever want to turn them in for money, basically when you're purchasing, you can always just turn in any card. Like if you know you're not going to score this, you can just turn it in as a buck. You can only do that during the purchasing phase. So that's at the end of the 3rd round. After the 3rd round, that's the end of the old age basically. And then we wipe everybody's people off of the board, all the farmers off of the board, and then we start again. The pyramids remain on the board. So now we pick up all of the discarded, pick up all of the places that we just auctioned, shuffle them all up, and then we reveal 3 more again. So now the next round, things might look a little bit more enticing when there's more pyramids out in the area. So you're probably going to bid more for certain things. Also, if you had a scoring card that maybe you couldn't score at the end of the 1st age, you might be aiming to score it at the end of the 2nd age. After the 6th round, final scoring that would happen, we score basically the same thing again: points for every pyramid that you control, points for pyramids on each side of the Nile, and then the other thing that you can do, the other thing that you score for, is you get 6 victory points for the player who has the most gold. So, any gold that you have in your hand, count it up. If you have the most, you score 6 victory points. The second most is going to get 4 victory points. Third most gets 2 victory points. And if it's a tie, each player scores the victory points, but the next tier would not score victory points. So 1st and 2nd place ties, then if 2 people tie for 1st place, then there isn't a 2nd place. You just get points for 3rd place at that point, which would be the 2nd highest at that moment. And that is pretty much it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer them. Thank you.